elementary school library gave all the students a survey to take home, which was probably intended to promote reading in families and conversations about books between children and parents. Now, my family is a family of readers. My dad was and is constantly reading, over his bowl of cereal in the morning or in his comfy chair in the evenings. He always had a thick library book tucked under his arm anytime we left the house. Big historical novels or war histories like Stanley Carnap's Vietnam, wrapped up in a recycled bread bag so that he'd have something to read while we went to the beach. My mom reads a lot too, and even when we were kids, in between working, cooking, and cleaning, and tending any combination of us, Mom tends to read novels. And back then, she was always game to read the young adult fiction I would gush about to her. My grandpa reads stories about farm life and various wars, and my aunt would always send my sister and I the latest in children's fiction at Christmas or as birthday gifts. I was the kid, it will come as no surprise to you, who was constantly getting busted for reading under the covers at night with a pen light. Because I may have been smart enough to read adult fiction as a 10-year-old, but I was not smart enough to figure out that anyone walking by my bedroom at 11 at night could see a faint light coming up from the blob of blankets. I could have gotten an easy answer to my survey from any of the other significant adults in my life. But there was one person whose reading habits were a great mystery to me. So I handed my grandmother the survey and a pen to fill out one afternoon. I thoughtfully waited until she was nice and relaxed, snoozing in the recliner in the 20 short minutes she had between teaching 6th grade and taking care of me and my sister. She gave me a look that didn't register to me as appreciation of my thoughtful timing, but she gamely filled the survey out anyway. I remember being really eager to read what she wrote down, and then really confused and disappointed by her answers. Favorite book? The Psalms. Favorite author? King David. Oh, Grandma, that's so boring. I was hoping to see some kind of secret love for detective stories or maybe romance novels, but instead she went and did something irritatingly churchy. For me, as a child, the Bible fell somewhere between homework and visits to the dentist's office on the scale of things that were fun. If I memorized certain verses of the Bible for Sunday school, I could get a little prize, which, not coincidentally, were similar to the prizes I got at the dentist's office when I got my teeth cleaned. Either way, the process of earning that prize was not so much fun. You confirmation kids who worked so hard to get your Bible memory verses down this year, I will tell you, I have felt your pain. But the Psalms, I mean, who reads those? For fun, on purpose? Well, it turned out Nelda did. I began to notice on the rare occasions when I would get up more than 20 minutes before I had to be at school that Grandma woke up considerably earlier and sat in her same comfy chair, drinking her Folgers and reading her Bible. And oftentimes what she was reading was the Psalms. How could I have known that my grandmother was participating in one of the oldest, in fact, the most ancient, continuous prayer practices in Jewish and Christian history? That she was reading, marking, learning, and inwardly digesting the words chanted by monks and nuns, by rabbis and priests for thousands of years. Words translated from the Hebrew to the Latin by St. Jerome, and from the Latin to English, German, and French by emerging Protestants, even at threat to their own lives. It is for me a revealing fact that the very first book published in British North America in 1640 was not a Bible. It was not even a prayer book, but it was a psalter, the Bay Psalm book. People have sweat over this book, have died for this book, have invented new technologies just to be able to share the Psalms. We, in our tradition, incorporate a psalm into every part of our worship. I learned from Brother Scott Gordon at Holy Cross Monastery, as he told my eager class of seminarians, that the Psalms express the entirety of human experience. Joy and wonder, anguish and hatred, the desire for mercy and the desire for vengeance. All of this is expressed in the 150 verses known as the Psalms. No wonder Nelda loves them so much. Who needs fiction when you have the Psalter? And no psalm is more beloved, more embraced, than the one which is proper for this Sunday, Psalm 23. It is so familiar, so comforting, so comfortable. There's a pleasing rhythm to it, with beautiful bucolic images and a wonderful happy ending. I know perhaps a dozen musical settings of this psalm, from the beloved Howard Goodall song, the theme from the Vicar of Dibley. You know, the one that goes, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Good luck getting this song out of your head for the rest of the day." To the many Anglican chant melodies and familiar hymn tunes, like the one that we sang for our sequence hymn this morning. Even the rapper Coolio quotes it in Gangster's Paradise. It's the psalm we use the most at funerals, and for good reason. Texts such as this soothe and comfort, to be sure, but they can sometimes lose their impact with familiarity. The 23rd Psalm can slip into the same gentle, sort of mindless rhythm as the Lord's Prayer or the Nicene Creed and other churchy texts. Author Anne Lamott describes this in the category of special occasion prayers, a dressy prayer, a prayer that you can take out like good china. It can seem too elegant to express some of our more urgent workaday needs, too nice for everyday use. On this fourth Sunday of Easter, what we call Good Shepherd Sunday, we have, I think, a special opportunity to look more closely at this elegant psalm, to appreciate what it is saying to us in a new way, and to notice the muddy shepherd's boots which move the words along. What does the 23rd Psalm say, not only about our relationship to God, but our relationship with one another? And how do we read this psalm in the light of Christ's gospel? To begin, the feeling I have often gotten from the 23rd Psalm is one of stasis and rest. So my mind was completely blown away when I read Old Testament scholar Joel Lamont's observation that this psalm is not, in fact, about resting, but it is about a journey. And when I thought about it, I thought, well, of course it is. Look at all the different places it takes us. Delicious green pastures, necessary still waters, all the places that keep me from being in want. Lamont goes on to give us some fresh interpretations of the familiar words. For example, when our translations say want, as in I shall not want, he points out that the Hebrew word is haser. It's the same word that was used when the Israelites leave Egypt. It means lack for nothing. And who is providing for these needs? This Lord, this Yahweh, this divine warrior, isn't leading us into battle, as his name suggests, but into places that nurture and sustain us. The word that our text translates to right pathways could be translated also as ruts or grooves, like a wagon or a herd of cattle would make, a pattern of traveling that is established and trustworthy. Our English text gives us the haunting valley of the shadow of death, but the Hebrew is maybe better translated as darkest valley or even deepest darkness. And then there is this line about goodness and mercy following me. But the older translation of the Hebrew word radab would better be translated for us as pursue, which is another military term. It's the action of an enemy chasing you into battle. Finally, we speak of dwelling, of staying someplace for a while. But the verb shuv is better translated as turning or even returning. In considering some of these other meanings, I rewrote the psalm a bit just to gain a new understanding for myself. So maybe it might go something like this. It turns out that the God of might in battle is a shepherd. And because of him, I won't lack anything that I need. He takes me on a journey to find sweet green grass to eat and good, clean water to drink. He refreshes me for this journey all the time and helps me find the right path, the one with the good groove. He does all of this so that when I hear his name, it reminds me of everything he does to take care of me. He never said there would not be dark times, but he did say that he would never leave my side, that he would stick close by and help me make good choices so that I can get to the light safely. He helps me know that I am loved and cared for by taking care of my most basic needs, even in the face of people who want to harm me. That care is a sacred act, a blessing act, and it makes my heart feel so full. While I am on this journey with Yahweh, who could be a general but is in fact a shepherd, it isn't enemies who chase after me, but goodness and mercy. It's such a surprise. And I will keep coming back to the dwelling place of God over and over again. I love reinvigorating this picture of the relationship between God and God's people, which is the relationship between a leader and a people who are depending on him. Rewriting this text a bit helps me to see that this is not only a song of comfort describing the sweet by and by, but one that gives us strength for the here and now. I wonder if Jesus was thinking of something similar in this passage from John's Gospel, in one of the three beloved passages about the Good Shepherd, or in Greek, the ideal shepherd. Jesus is not only describing what he's up to, but preparing his disciples, all of the hearers, for what comes next, giving them and us some instruction on what to do when the job of tending the flock will be handed off. Notice how Jesus equates himself with the model of care we read in Psalm 23, that he is a shepherd, the good shepherd, an ideal shepherd, one who could be a great warrior, but instead uses this power to lead, to keep safe, to nourish, and to keep company. The leaders in front of the temple want him to self-describe as a Messiah, as the great military triumphant leader, and instead he says, I'm a leader who lives with my sheep. He describes in detail the qualities of this good shepherd. He says the good shepherd is committed, is authentic. Being part of the flock means that we never go it alone. The leadership qualities are familiar and expand on what we have read in the older psalm text. But Jesus, always the innovator, adds one more quality. A good leader is one who invites new members to join the flock, this covenantal group, this tribe of care. It's as if Jesus is saying, anyone who hears this voice can be part of our woolly team. Anyone who answers the call is welcome to be part of our flock. But just in the same way that looking at our psalm more closely helps us to understand that this is about both the now and the not yet, Jesus is inviting us, I think, to be both the sheep and to be shepherds. It means learning how to use the tools of leadership that Christ has shared to tend as well as to be tended. At various points in our lives, we'll find that we need to do both. To paraphrase St. Teresa, words that you know I love so much, God has no hands now but ours, no rod, no staff but ours. All of us, by virtue of our baptism, are called to be part of this community of care, called to love in truth and action. We practice that here at church so that we can go out and do the same work in the world, to join Jesus in calling, in inviting, in leading, and in being led. Texts like this morning's give us strength and refreshment for the total experience of being human. No wonder it was my grandma's favorite book. In the name of God.